Welcome back, everybody, to the Huddle Up podcast, presented by Cooper Paint, Stripe, and Seal. Gotta get that one. That's a new one. And then the Jeremy Hodge Auto Group. We are back with you for another episode of the Huddle Up podcast. DG, what's going on, my main man, my co-host? How you doing?
Yeah. What's up, brother? I'm great, man. I'm doing great. Good shout out there to Coop and the Paint Striping Company, man. That's a new sponsor, so that's big. And always grateful for Jeremy Hodge, man, being a part of the show. But I'm good, man. I'm fired up for this episode. You can see we got Big Chuck on here, so you know, I say that's a bad intro by me, Charlie. I apologize, but
No.
man, so for everybody that's listening, this one right here is special. You can see the background. If you don't know who Charlie Johnson is, an all-time great at Oklahoma State. The guys played. I mean, the resume speaks for itself. A Super Bowl champ, a long-time NFL career, and really a great ball coach. I know that for sure. And really, above all else, man, top-notch human being. So, Chuck, welcome to the show, man.
Well, thanks for having me, man. Look forward to it. This will be
Yeah.
fun.
Hey,
Yeah,
we're
man.
excited, man. Just to talk a little bit about what you've done, your career, stuff like that. But thanks again for being a part. And yeah, let's kick it off. DG, what do we got for him? What do we
Yeah.
got?
So I just hit on it, man. We see the jerseys, and we'll get to the NFL stuff later. But what we like to do, selfishly for me, I like to hear this part of it, man. Take us back to the days of the beginning, of where really football all started for you. I know you ended up being kind of back and forth, right? O-line, tight end,
Hmm.
multi-purpose guy, a true athlete in that sense. And I've seen it myself that you are a true athlete. I know on the golf course and definitely on the basketball court, this guy can shoot lights out. And so that's for damn sure. And so anyway, man, take us back to your beginning of your career. What it was like for you growing up, man. Where did ball start? High school? What led you to Oklahoma State?
Yeah. So my dad played, football, and he would always tell me his glory stories or whatever and all that. So I probably started playing I think I was 9 years old when I started playing, and obviously my dad was coaching, and so I've been playing since I was 9. In Sherman, Texas, that's where I grew up. Sherman, Texas. Um, Played high school ball there, and honestly, coming out, I had one offer coming out of high school, and it was Oklahoma State. And the funny part about it, you talk about basketball, that it kind of happened out of nowhere. I had a basketball game my junior year, and the old coach Les Miles was down in Dallas, and he was driving back up here to Stillwater, and he stopped in Sherman because he had heard about me. 'Cause I was playing tight end at the time, and he had heard about me, so he actually stopped in Sherman, and I didn't even know he was there, but he came and actually watched one of my basketball games. He called me the next day, and they offered me. But that was the only offer I had coming out of high school. So he recruited him and Josh Henson, who you may know as well.
Oh yeah.
Those were my primary recruiting people. And so uh, when you only got one offer, it makes it makes the choice pretty easy. You know what I mean?
No
Uh,
doubt.
but I came up visiting, and obviously I fell in love with the place, and that's how I ended up here. That's how I ended up playing ball here.
That's big
Uh,
time. That's cool.
yeah,
What's
yeah.
beautiful about that is it doesn't really matter what offers you get in the grand scheme of things because you can only choose one anyway, and it's what
Hmm.
you do with that one. And obviously, you made the most of that, man. I didn't know that about you. I knew you had tight end background. I don't know how
Hmm.
the transition happened. So, but the fact that Les just happened to stop in and watch a basketball game, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can really see athletes on the court. In my opinion, when you're watching, especially the big boys, you get to see a lot on the basketball court when they play that. So for you, what was the transition then? Like when exactly did tight ends O line happen, and how did it happen?
So 02 to 04, my freshman through junior year, I played tight end here. And that's we had Les Miles and Gundy was the OC. And we were pro style. I mean, we weren't afraid to go two tight ends, two backs, a tight end, two backs, all that stuff. And actually we had me, and we also had a guy named Billy Badgerman playing tight end, who also went on. I think he got 9 years in the league as well. So we had two pretty good tight ends along with a pretty good offensive line group. But then after that junior year, when Les left and took the LSU job, and Mike Gundy got the head job. He brought in Larry Fedora, and he was more of the spread guy, and that's kind of where we kind of started with that spread deal. And we also had a young tight end by the name of Brandon Pettigrew, who had just
Not bad. Yeah.
redshirted,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
okay.
and
Yeah, he was all
who
right.
had
Yeah.
just redshirted. And so I'll be honest. I mean, I was okay. I was a really good blocker. I was a I was a really good blocker at tight end. I was, decent at running routes, and I could catch the ball and run routes and all that stuff. But for what we needed, for what Fedora needed, that wasn't who I was tight end wise. But that's who Brandon Pettigrew was. And so I went ahead and I joked about it for Wilkins. For like my first 3 years in college, they were like, hey, when you want to move to offensive line? Because I was one of the bigger guys. I was, 260, 270, one of those bigger guys like that. And so once we switched offenses, I went ahead and made that move. I went to the coaches. I went to me. It was because Meacham was the tight ends coach, and then we had Joe Wickline and all those guys. And I went to Mike, and I just said that, I think I can help this team more uh, playing offensive line. So that's kind of how that started. So I played that year under Joe Wickline, who was an unbelievable offensive line coach. I really wouldn't be where I got to without him. And I played that year, and then it was onward and upward from there.
Yeah. So, not a lot of people go through that transition of switching positions in the middle of their college career. Talk about a little bit of how difficult was that for you? I know you said you were a blocking tight end, but playing tight end, on the end of the line or even, split out as opposed to now you're playing the offensive line. What kind of transition was that? And how quick were you able to feel like, hey, I'm getting the hang of this? And when did you really feel like, hey, man, this could turn into a great career for me and that onward trajectory to you in your NFL career?
Yeah, so going through that spring, like I said, I was already doing a lot of things. I mean, when I was playing tight end, when it was me and Billy, I was the inline guy and he was more of the flex down the field guy and all that. So I really was kind of doing like a lot of offensive line ish things while I was playing here. They would, not to brag or anything, I could be a tight end that they could leave in pass protection and slide the other way. So I was already kind of pass protected and handling and doing a little bit of that stuff already. And so, I went through that spring going into my senior year. I went through that spring with Coach Wickline. And I'd say probably by the end of that spring, I was comfortable-ish enough, you know what I mean? I still had to get back to fall camp by the end of fall camp, I was like, I got more comfortable with it. And then obviously playing and doing all that. Now that wasn't the best, it wasn't a banner year for Oklahoma State, but um, uh, I kind of got the hang of it as we went on there.
I would say it paid off for you.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh no, it did.
Yeah.
It was uh, probably second best choice I made in my life outside of finding my wife and marrying my wife. So I'd say that's probably number one, and that was number
Smart.
two.
Well put.
There
That's
you
well
go.
put
Yeah,
right there.
for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Great
Well,
choice of
and I think
words.
that made you a little more versatile when college or when NFL teams were looking at you and saying, "Hey, he's a little bit of an athlete as well." He played
Hmm.
tight end, stuff like that, and so I think it made you a little bit more versatile when it came to the draft process. When it came to going into the league,
Yeah.
is a lot of times people don't look at it that way, but being able to see, hey, this guy can move his feet, this guy can get out and pull and block and do all the things that we need him to do. And so it worked out really well for you.
Yeah, no doubt
It,
it did.
no, it did, and I was, after that year, I thought I was going to be done playing football. Um, I was just the year was so bad. I was like, man, I'm kind of done. I made this run or whatever, but I kind of heard rumblings that maybe I had a chance to play at the next level or whatever. So I went ahead and I had a family friend of a friend who was kind of a small time agent that I kind of picked up with, and I didn't get the combine invite or anything like that. So I stayed here in town and I trained with you'll remember Joel Tudman, the
Oh yeah.
He was down in the
Yeah,
weight room.
man.
So this is kind of where I did my training or whatever here. Didn't help that I didn't have any money. I couldn't go anywhere. So I
Yeah.
was able to stay here for free and
There you go.
train and go through the pro day process here. And that's kind of where it picked up. The coaches, I worked out for a couple other offensive line coaches that came in, and I took the pre-draft visits or anything. And the crazy part is, I didn't think I was going to get drafted. I thought I'd be undrafted free agent. Um, but I got drafted by the team that I had like the worst pre-draft visit to. It was like I'd visited Atlanta and Jacksonville, Seattle, and they were all good. And they're floating, they fly you out, they feed you, they do all that stuff. When I went to Indy, it happened to be Easter weekend. So like nobody was in the offices. I didn't see any coach. I just went and did medical. They dropped me off at the hotel. Like they forgot my per diem, my meal money. Like it was just all bad. Like I was like, man, there's no way that I'm going to Indianapolis.
Yeah, it's the last time
Yeah.
I'm gonna be here.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
there's no way I'm going to Indianapolis. Like, I didn't even meet a coach. Like it was Easter weekend, so like guys weren't even working out. Like I didn't meet anybody except for like the trainer and like player personnel people. And so it's just crazy how it worked. That was by far the worst trip. I was like, I'm not coming to Indy. Even if I have a choice, I'm not coming here. I don't like it. But it ended up working out. So,
Man,
Yeah.
that's crazy. What a
yeah.
story. What
Yeah.
a story.
Well,
Yeah.
So, man,
yeah.
all right. So, I got a question on this whole thing because it goes back to kind of what Drew was talking about just a minute ago with, yeah, the transition happened. You got a year under your belt playing O line in college. But
Mhm.
to an offensive line coach in the NFL, you still are probably extremely raw in the O line standpoint, right? Just from their perspective. So I know for me personally, I love when a kid has a ton of ability, but he's very raw. And
Mhm.
maybe because he's so raw and new to a position or whatever it is, maybe he just doesn't have a ton of bad habits. So I'm kind of asking a couple things here. In your opinion, you coach now, right? So in your opinion, do you like getting those prospects given to you? Do you like when kids come to you and they just have a ton of ability and raw, no bad habits because they haven't been doing other things? So you get a chance to mold them yourself. And then on the second note of that, do you think maybe that's a little bit how an NFL team viewed you or an NFL line coach viewed you?
Yeah. So that second part, I would definitely say so. The O-line coach at the time in Indianapolis was a guy named Howard Mudd. I mean, and he's a Hall of Fame coach. He was an all decades player in the 60s. Like he's one of the goats of offensive line play and offensive line coaching. And he made a habit of taking guys that weren't necessarily, ranked high or, you know, didn't have the notoriety or anything and turn them into football players. I think everybody knows or heard of the longtime center in Indy named Jeff Saturday. Um, he
Yeah.
was
I think
not,
maybe.
he was undrafted. He had bounced around a couple different teams before he got to Indy. He was 6'1", maybe at the probably 280, considered undersized.
Mm-hmm.
But, Howard Mudd saw him as a guy that he's a tough ass who's smart and is willing to get after it. And so I would like our offensive line in Indy was made up of, I mean, Jeff was undrafted. The left guard I played with was undrafted. I was a sixth round pick. We had other rotating guards that were fifth round, sixth round picks. Um, Probably the majority of my time starting, the highest draft pick that was starting on that line was like a fourth round guy. And
Wow.
so, and so he made a habit on that. And so I do think that I was a guy that he saw that had athletic ability and that could do the things that he liked, and he didn't have to break a lot of habits to the point that you made. And so the coaching part wise, I would say honestly, it kind of depends. I know the past couple years, I took a kid that just played baseball, right, and I'd been asking him since eighth grade to come play football because he was 6'6", 6'6" and a half, 280 pounds. But he's, just like anything else, everybody's a baseball player nowadays. I don't know if y'all know that or not, but
Oh yeah.
man, like
Yeah.
like baseball is where it's at. Everybody's getting drafted. That's the thing or whatever. But so he was a senior this past year. So before his junior year, he decided to come out, and it was awesome because he didn't know anything.
Yep.
He didn't know any offensive line. So there was nothing that I could tell him that he wouldn't do because he didn't know any better.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
That's
but
beautiful. It's a
That's
yeah, I mean
beautiful
awesome.
thing.
Yeah.
it was beautiful.
Well, especially if you got
But
a coachable kid like that, that's just like, yeah,
yeah,
I'll do whatever. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
yes. But the thing that we've kind of got going on here in Stillwater is, we're around these guys, from seventh grade on. We may not be coaching them all the time, but we get them in the summer and we work out with those seventh, eighth grade guys and we coach them and do all that. So by the time they get with us, they kind of have a general idea.
Mhm.
But teaching them base things that young is fun, man. Like it
For
is
sure.
to watch a kid just progress and come through the program, which is becoming less and less, even at the high school level now. Man, kids are bouncing around and all that, and you're missing that
Yeah.
aspect of like a homegrown kid.
Yeah.
You're watching them that you know in seventh and eighth grade, the young fat guy's an offensive line guy. They just put him on the offensive line because nobody else knows what to do with him. You know,
Yeah.
and the fun part is you take
That's,
that
that's,
kid
that's
like
true,
that,
man. I mean,
but
that's
to take a kid like that who can't run 5 yards without passing out, to hopefully by the time they're a junior and senior leaving a 2 or 3 year starter, man, like that's like the best feeling ever, man. Like that is
Man.
just so fun, you
And
know.
And I'll add this to say what you're saying, and I'm sorry to interrupt you if you're about to keep
No, you're
rolling,
good.
but I got to witness that firsthand. So tell me, answer this for me. What was your first year at Stillwater coaching?
It was 2016.
Which was my first year at Mustang High School coaching, right? And you guys came to us, I'm pretty sure, and
Yeah.
you smacked us around. And I remember seeing you over there. I kind of knew about you. I don't know if we knew each other that well then or whatever, but and I remember you guys just absolutely just running it down our throat. I think one of the first plays of the game, y'all probably took it for like 70 right down the chute. And I was like, oh man, I had no idea. And y'all just ended up smacking us around in that game. So anyway, I got to see it firsthand. You had maybe been like early stages of your coaching career at Stillwater
Mhm.
at that time, but I got to see it the next year. And then obviously you guys go on to win state championships. So something you guys are doing around there, it works. And if anybody doesn't know about Stillwater High School football and the battles you guys have had going up against the Bigsby's of the world in the last however many
Mhm.
years, like
Yeah.
everybody in the world knows about Bigsby now. But I promise you, not as many people know about Stillwater, but the brand of football you guys created,
Yep.
man. I mean, hats
No,
off
it's
to you
awesome. I
because
actually
I
got to watch that
witnessed it.
game against
I
Muskogee a
witnessed it.
couple years ago when you guys
Mm.
played them in the state championship. I mean, that's some great football, man. When you get two teams like that are physical and coming at each other, that was one of the funnest games I've had to watch, and watching you guys and your physicality up front.
Mhm.
It's fun to see.
Huge, huge. Didn't you
And
guys have like the all-time leading rusher in Oklahoma history or something like that?
I think
Or he's up
he's
there?
I think he's like the big school, like
Yeah.
4A and above all time leading rusher. And then I think like all time he may be like seventh or eighth or something like that.
I mean, that's
Um,
insane.
a kid named Quantrell Walker who he
Yeah,
was special.
Oh,
Like he was special. He was really good. I mean, he made me look. I mean, I do a decent job, and we've been good up front. But that kid could do things that you know not a lot of high school running backs could do. Um,
that's for sure. But
yeah.
it doesn't happen without the big boys
Oh
up front,
no.
man.
Yeah.
Like,
No. I
yeah,
mean,
you have special talent in high school that's going to get you
yes.
extra yards. Like
oh yeah.
he was. I remember him. He was a great player. Like I was at Memphis
Yes.
coaching at the time. I'm pretty sure when he came out, and we watched this film over and over and over and over and over. Like, is this a kid? I don't know. But I just know
Hmm.
at the end of the day, that dude was productive. But at the same time, when the guys that are blocking for him are coached by
Hmm.
yourself, there's also a mentality with that group that goes on in front of the running back where
Yep.
everything is laid
For
right in
sure.
front of him and there's a standard set with that group. So as a running back, it's pretty nice to know that's what's in front of you.
Yeah. And
Yep.
like
For
I
sure.
and like I was telling Drew earlier, a big part of our success too is our offensive coordinator, who is now our head coach, but he's a former offensive line coach as
Mhm.
well. So he also understands calling plays, what can help offensive linemen go be physical as well, and handing the ball off early to kind of get into a rhythm, or
Yep.
spitting the ball out when the numbers dictate it to kind of lighten up the box. So that all that kind of goes into it, and that's kind of helped us be as successful as we have been.
Yeah,
That's
no, that's one of
awesome.
the things that I told a lot of my players, because I was an offensive coordinator and then I coach running backs, was kind of my forte and everything like that going through my coaching career. And that's what I told my guys. I said you better be thankful for the guys up front, because it starts and finishes with those guys. And you can't do anything. We can't call plays. We can't, scheme anything up without what we're doing up front. And so every time that somebody asks me, they're like, Coach, what's your scheme? What do you like to run? I said, well, first, what can my 5 guys do up front? That's what's going to dictate what we do offensively. And so I always used to tell my guys, quarterback, whoever I was coaching, I said, you better give those guys a pat on the back, because if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't be getting what you're getting. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's no question with that, man. That's a fact. That's a great point, man. That's a great piece of advice for a lot of coordinators out there. You better make sure them big boys are able.
yeah, I mean, it's good and well if you want to run power and counter or whatever you want to run. But if your 5 guys up front can't do it, then you're banging your head against a wall. So you better figure out what you have up front first, and then you can scheme it up after that. So
Yeah, man,
Absolutely.
that's for sure. That's a great point. Well, okay, so on that note, talking scheme, talking ball. So you get up to the league, you get drafted. You said it was 6th round. That's right.
Hmm. Yep.
6th round draft pick. Rookie year, you go in there. Tell us about it. Was it what you expected? How much different was the schematics, the X's and O's? Like, were you drinking from a fire hose, if you will? Like, what was that like? Was it a totally different challenge physically? For most guys, I think it's a different challenge for sure mentally, as far as everything you got to take in. So, give us a little experience with that in Indianapolis.
Um, so it was just in the sense of kind of Indianapolis's offenses was kind of new at the time. It's kind of what modern day football is now. You know what I mean? Like a lot of playing at the line and check with me, but not really huddling and doing all that stuff. Kind of, well, hell, that was 20 years ago now. That's crazy. But like, that's crazy. It blows my mind. It's like
yeah,
20 years ago, I got drafted like 2006. But, you know, uh, so it was a little bit because, especially with playing with Peyton Manning, you know, everything's on the table. Like all plays are on the table when he's doing it. And
That's
so,
awesome.
you know what I mean? So like, I, I'll get back to the rookie year stuff, but like once I got in and started playing, and you prepare for a week and you think that, okay, these are the plays we're gonna run, right? So we got like these 3 runs like we really like, or we got this pass protection or this concept or whatever. But then you play the game and he sees something and he checks to a run that you hadn't practiced in a month. It's like, oh well, he wants to check Tokyo, he wants to check trap because of whatever he saw, and you never really knew what he saw, but you just knew it was right. So you're like, okay, I guess we're gonna check trap on this play. You know what I mean?
this is what we're
And
doing,
we're
right?
gonna run it. But no, going to the
That's
rookie year
awesome.
it was, I was very blessed. Like I said, I talked about Jeff Saturday. We had a guy named Tarek Glenn that was our left tackle who had been there for 10 years. He was an all Pro Bowl guy. Um, the guys in that room that I was with, I mean, welcomed me with open arms. Um, they probably didn't really feel threatened, the 6th round pick coming in. And I wasn't really trying to take anybody's job. I was just there to try to help them do whatever. But, uh, practicing, I would say the practice pace was the number one eye opener. Um, as far as there was no brother-in-law deals, and David, you could speak to it, but like in college and stuff, you could find ways to be like, hey, okay, bro, like, hey, on this play, like, let's make it look good. Let's make it look good. You know what I mean? Like,
That's a
we're gonna
fact.
grunt, we're gonna
Yeah.
grunt, we're gonna, but we're really not going anywhere. Well, there was none of that.
Yeah.
That's so true, man. That's
Yeah.
so
Like
true.
there was none of that, and then you quickly realize it's because like that's your job now. Like
Yeah.
if I don't practice well, they're gonna find somebody that will. You know, you're getting paid to do it, which nowadays in college you're getting paid, but back then you weren't. But so the NFL, that was when you're getting paid to play. And so guys they're trying to block and catch and tackle and do all this stuff because that's how they're providing for their family. So that training camp of my rookie year was kind of that first eye opener of like, okay, like these are grown men and this is how they provide for their family, and you just kind of see coming into it, you just kind of see the games being played and you just think that you kind of lose sight of the fact that this is their job. Like if they don't block, you get cut, you're not getting a check. You know what I mean? And so I would say that rookie year going to that camp, like finally realizing like it's a business, it's a job. If you don't perform, like you're out of there, And what's the crazy part is they, in my same draft class, they took another tackle. They drafted a tackle in the 5th round before me. And, we ended up being good friends and everything, but, he kind of fell in love with getting drafted and kind of that, oh, I play in the NFL deal. And I just kind of went in and went to work and I ended up making the roster and he ended up on the practice squad when it probably should have been the other way around, just on draft order or whatever. So, that's when that's when you think about like, oh man, like this is the real deal. Like this is how you provide for your family.
Yeah. No
Well,
doubt.
and then you talked about, your rookie year turned out to be a pretty special year for the Indianapolis Colts. And first year right out of the gate, you guys win a Super Bowl. What was that like? I mean, you're like, holy cow, first taste of the NFL, I'm winning the Super Bowl. So, that's wild.
So that my rookie year, I played in 2 games. I know I don't know the week or whatever, but we played Philadelphia on Sunday Night Football, and our right tackle gets hurt in the first quarter, and I go in, I play the rest of that game, and then I start the next week, and then I don't play the rest of the regular season, and I don't play in the playoffs, and we're able to beat New England at home. They finally beat New England. So that year, '06 was kind of the year that they got over the hump because they would always get to the championship game or the year before, and the Patriots would always beat them. They'd find a way, and so that year was kind of the year they got over the Patriot hump and they beat them, or we beat them to get to the Super Bowl, and then so I'm there, spectacle. I'm just on the sideline. I'm like, oh man, I'm not gonna play. Like I haven't played, and I'm on the sideline about the middle of the second quarter. Right tackle rolls an ankle, and they're yelling, "Hey, go in!" And so I just run in, and I'm like, "Okay, I'll finish this series. He'll be back." I mean, I think it was second down. I think we went 3 and out or whatever, and I jog back out. I'm like, "Okay, whatever. Well, he'll be back." Well, like he ends up he doesn't get carted off, but he had to go to the training room or whatever. I was like, oh shit, like I'm about to play like this whole damn game. and
The
so,
Super Bowl is upon you. You can't hide that.
Yeah, like, you can't hide.
So the crazy, and so I was playing. I was on like special teams. So I was on field goal team and I was on kickoff return and that stuff like that. Back when you could have a wedge. So I was in the wedge and it was me and 2 other dudes and we were running full speed and that's back, you could still have the wedge busters back then. Now you can't do that anymore. But so that was fun. But
some real
so
headaches.
I ended up going in and but the crazy thing was because you only dress so many people on game day. Like even though like I was playing, like I was still had to be on kickoff return because there wasn't anybody else. And so the funny part about it was it's about the third quarter, and this is the Bears. I mean, this is Brian Urlacher. This is Lance Briggs. I mean, this is
Devin
Katz,
Hester.
right?
Yeah,
Hester. He ran the opening kickoff back. Never happened before. So that Super Bowl had like at least 2 never happened before. One, nobody ever ran the opening kickoff back, which they did, and 2, it's still the only Super Bowl to be played in the rain. It's the only Super Bowl that outdoor that has been played in the rain.
Was that in Miami?
It was in Miami.
Okay. Yep.
It was in Miami.
Wow.
And it's actually my wife actually has the best memory. So the halftime show was Prince, which
oh wow,
which is I think people rank it. I mean, it's probably top 3 Super Bowl halftime performances of all time. But she was like, it was awesome because the whole stage got lit up with purple and it's actually raining and he's playing Purple Rain. And
Wow.
she was like, it was unbelievable. And
Mm.
so that's her memory from that. I say that's probably her number 1 memory, not even me
So
winning. But it was
that's
freaking, it was
I
probably
mean, that's a
Prince
pretty
playing Purple
iconic
Rain.
moment. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
pretty iconic moment
Uh,
right there.
oh,
it
that's
was
that's
crazy.
two things in one. Like you're watching the Super Bowl and then you get a Prince halftime. I don't think that's a one in a million.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a good memory for her. But I remember the opening kickoff for third quarter. Obviously, I'm on it, and it was either touchback or whatever. So I stay on the field, and actually, I don't. This is how smart Brian Urlacher was, but he was like, "Hey, 7-4." He's like, "You got to tell coach to get you off kickoff return, man. You're playing now." And I was like, Brian
It's a good
Urlacher's
idea.
talking to me.
Yeah,
I
he's
was
like, you
like,
notice that?
I was
Yeah.
like, this is crazy. I was like, one,
Me?
you noticed that, and two, you're talking to me. Like this is crazy. but no, and so
That's awesome.
we ended up winning and doing all that, and so after that, I just assumed that we were gonna do it every year. You know what I mean? I was like, shit, I'm 1 for 1. We're just gonna keep going. But no, obviously we went back in '09. We lost to the Saints, but that rookie year was special in a lot of ways, just because if you really looked at it, like I probably wasn't supposed to be there. Literally the year before, I'm a damn tight end converting offensive line, and a year later, I'm getting reps in the Super Bowl. Like that's not supposed to happen, So it's kind of one of those things that you look back. I look back on it and at the time. You don't really think about it. You're just doing it. But now you really sit back and look at it as I get old. It's like,
Yeah.
man, like I did something right. I lived
That's,
a blessed life. You know what I
no,
mean?
that's
No
special,
doubt.
So
man. So,
yeah.
so special. And then, okay, so then after that, when did the move to Minnesota happen? And was it a
So
trade or were you a free
no,
agent or what happened?
I was a free agent, so that's another weird thing. Well, so I played 5 years in Indy, so 2006, 2010, and then after that 2010 season was when the NFL had the lockout. So we
Mhm.
got locked out or whatever. So that started in March, and they signed the new deal back in August. So that whole time, like I was free, like I couldn't talk to the Colts, I couldn't talk to anybody, and so I think that kind of hurt. I don't know. I wouldn't say that I was a big time free agent. I'm not typing that up, but you know, but as soon as the lockout was over, it was Minnesota called and they're like, "Hey, we want you to come in or whatever." So without visiting, I'll just be completely honest. They offered the most money, so I was like, "I'm just going to take this because we're coming off the lockout and all that." So yeah, I didn't really know
Yeah,
much about
yeah.
Minnesota. I didn't know much about Minnesota. I didn't know who the offensive line coach was. I didn't know who the offensive line coach was. I didn't know anything. Indy had made it clear they were like, "Yeah, they had drafted 2 other guys there," and I saw the writing on the wall. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
Again,
yeah.
it's a business, so when the first two, I believe the first 2 picks were offensive linemen. You see the writing on the wall. I'm going into free agency, 2 dudes on rookie contracts. I get it. It's all
Yeah.
good. You know, so so that was 2011 that I went to Minnesota and played 4 years there. But totally different because in 4 years in Minnesota, we only went to the playoffs once. So I got used to
And
winning. I got used to winning in Indy, going to playoffs every year and having a chance to win a championship. To my first year in Indy or my first year in Minnesota, we went 3-13.
mm,
So that was kind of a culture shock.
yeah, a little wake up call.
And
Yeah,
you were
Man,
in
that's
Minnesota
tough.
for how many years?
4 years,
Yeah.
2011 to 2014. So uh, I was able to play with Adrian Peterson, obviously,
I was
enough.
about to ask, as
Go
an
ahead.
OU guy,
Oh, I
what was
know.
it like to get to block for him? And not only that, but 2012, his MVP year, in the league when he went for that. What was that like as an offensive line? Did you guys take some pride in knowing that you were a big integral part of what he did in the run game?
Absolutely. That dude's a freak, man. Like, obviously, I think everybody knew that. You can't perform that way as a true freshman at OU and not be a freak, and everybody knew that. But that guy was special. And so we get there. He took 2011. It was actually Christmas Eve. We're in Washington, and he gets tackled low or whatever and tears his ACL.
Yeah.
So it was Christmas Eve of 2011, right? So after that, we're back in April. We show back up in April in Minnesota to the facilities to start the workouts and everything. So that was what, 3.5 months, give or take, 3.5, 4 months. We show up and we go to our first outside workout, and the cat's already on the hill. He's running hills already. Like, it was unbelievable. And then you fast forward to the first week of September, week 1, he's starting. And so that dude tore his ACL Christmas Eve 2011, and then January 2012, he's the MVP and is 8 yards away from the rushing record. That should tell you how much of a freak he is. Like,
Man, that's nuts.
just a specimen. I mean, obviously, physically, specimen and talented and all that, but just the will to drive yourself to get better, and then to be able, and then that 2012 year, we go 10-6 and make the playoffs, and he was basically all we had, and it was no secret that he was getting that ball 20, 25 times because we had a young quarterback named Christian Ponder who was adequate at the time. He was okay, but he wasn't winning games for us. Our best skill receiver guy, a guy named Percy Harvin, about halfway through the year, still don't really know what happened. Just one day he was here and one day he wasn't. So nobody knows. And then he shows up and wins the Super Bowl in Seattle next year. That kind of sucked. But so we lost him, and so it was Adrian, and he was getting the rock, and I think he had 8 200-yard games, and we were 8 yards away from breaking Dickerson's record.
Man,
so it was special.
So you might have just answered what my next question was going to be. Again, kind of 2-part. Best player you've ever played with on offense, regardless of position, and then who's the toughest guy on the D line you've ever gone against?
Ooh, that's great.
Ooh, that's a good one. I mean, so I played with a lot of, obviously you have Peyton Manning, obviously,
Yeah.
arguably the greatest of all time. Played with Adrian Peterson,
But
probably
was
top 5, top
the
10.
Sheriff the best you've played with? Who was the best offensive player you played with, regardless of position?
Yeah, man, that's hard, man.
Putting you on the spot,
you
man.
put me on the spot.
Yeah.
This was one of those questions you're supposed to tell me. You're supposed to text me that yesterday.
No, I want
It's live, man.
We're
getting you.
answer.
No,
yeah,
put you on the spot.
Man, I would say Peyton just because of everything he did. It wasn't just like, because if you look at Peyton, like, his arm wasn't the greatest. You know what I mean? Like,
That's
if
for
you're
sure.
just going purely based of like arm talent, like you wouldn't put him top 10 arm talent wise. You know what I mean? And I do think that that's kind of part of the reason his draft class, Peyton Manning, Ryan Leaf, I think that's why it was kind of a debate, was because, Ryan Leaf had the arm talent, so I think that's why. So, but everything he did mentally and everything that he was able to do in a total package, I would say, is him. But another cat, kind of an underrated cat that I played with, was a tight end by the name of Dallas Clark, who was, in that time, he was an undersized tight end. He's probably only about 6'2.5", 6'3", probably about 230 or whatever. But that dude would block your ass off, and he ran probably some of the best routes I've ever seen. Receiver, tight end, or whatever, and a freak athlete. Box jumps, the things that he could do. So I would put Peyton, I'd say obviously Peyton and Adrian, and then underrated cat named Dallas Clark, who was a special tight end for us there in Indy. And then the biggest freak, the best cat, two dudes on defense. One I played with in Indy, DN Dwight Freeney,
Mm-hmm.
absolute freak, right? And when I say that, I mean he was one of the first people that I was around that when you talk about diet and like specific stuff to prepare your body to go play, like he was one of the first ones that took that to a level I'd never seen. And what I mean by that was everything that he ate the same thing like every day, like 6 days a week. And it was the same thing at the same time because he wanted to play at 268 pounds.
Wow.
For whatever he did, he had figured out that 268 pounds was his optimal weight to play at, that he felt the best at, that he could perform the best at. So everything he ate got prepared like at our facility. You know, we had all the buffet stuff and he got his stuff prepared a certain way. It was like buffalo meat and rice and certain stuff. But that dude with everybody knew he was going to hit a spin move. Like that was his thing. Like it was the Dwight Freeney spin move. Like that's his patented thing. That's what he's known for. And he still had over 100 sacks in the Hall of Fame now.
Crazy.
You know what I mean? And then second is Julius Peppers. 6'7", damn near 300 pounds, probably running 4.5. Strong as all get out. You know, there you go, 6'7". I saw it. But you know,
For the kids.
Yeah, for the kids.
But-
We're a family show here.
I can see that. But could run like a receiver, you know, but can set the edge, can rush the passer. Obviously, in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if he's in, but he will be. But you know, and average double digit sacks at North Carolina, and double digits on the basketball floor.
And I was going to say, and played basketball at North Carolina. That's
at North Carolina, and that was when they were winning national championships and stuff.
Man.
So
yeah.
those I would say those two.
Yeah, you
Great
played with some,
answer.
and you didn't even mention there's a guy like Marvin Harrison and other
Yes.
guys that I mean if
I
it's a
mean-
who's who of your career with both of those teams, that's amazing.
I mean, the Hall of Famers. I mean, obviously, you have Peyton, Marvin Harrison's in the Hall of Fame. Reggie Wayne should
Reggie
be,
Wayne,
and I think
yep.
he will be, but he'll be in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Adrian Peterson will be in the Hall of Fame. Steve Hutchinson, a guard when I first got to Minnesota, he's in the Hall of Fame. I played with Jared Allen in Minnesota, another Hall of Famer. Linebacker named Chad Greenway, who borderline Hall of Fame guy. I remember the safety named Harrison Smith got drafted in 2012, and his locker was next to mine. And he might, I mean, he said he's retiring, but I think he may come back again. But he's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Wow.
Bob Sanders, the safety,
Yeah.
I mean, if that dude could have stayed healthy, he'd be a Hall of Famer. I mean,
How big was he really? How big was he?
5'8". I mean,
Man.
5'8", maybe 5'9", but freaking rocked up 200 pounds and will freaking knock your ass off. Like that.
Yeah.
And that dude, you would not think that somebody 5'8", 200 pounds would be the most intimidating person. But that dude, like, he walked into the room, like, everybody knew who the dude was, and it was freaking Bob Sanders.
I bet.
Like, so, man, like, I played with so many great players, like Hall of Fame or people like that it's unbelievable.
That's awesome, man. I gotta jump back here because I gotta point something out because you mentioned all the guys you just listed and talked about. You didn't mention Jeff Saturday, but you talked about him earlier, and you mentioned him earlier in the aspect. I don't know, what is he a Hall of Famer? Probably so. I don't know, but
yeah, 100%.
And I mean, yeah, sure. I don't know those kind of things sometimes on certain guys. With the O-line, that might be tough. That's where I'm like, I don't know how that works exactly. But if there is, we just mentioned kids a second ago. If there's any kids or whoever, football players at any age listening to this, and hell, even coaches, as far as something you said about him earlier, I believe the top two things you said about him that your coach, his name was Coach Mudd.
Yep, Howard Mudd.
Coach,
Yep.
man, what a name for an O-line coach. Golly,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But you said about Jeff Saturday, the fact that he's a tough ass, number one, and he's smart, number two. His top two qualities. I believe that's what you said earlier.
Yes.
And so for anybody, any kids out there listening, man, that is such like, man, that is just so overlooked so much in the game. But in the coaching world, if you have guys that are like that, it's so, you see guys, they go so much farther in what their actual physical potential is because of those two qualities.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter if you're in high school, if you're in college, whatever it is, man, if you are tough playing a game of football, and it takes a different level of toughness, especially mentally, you got to be physically tough no matter what. But then if you're smart and you can have that edge on somebody else, it's going to take you to the next level. Because, I mean, when you mentioned him being 6'1", 280 or whatever he was, but those are his top qualities. I think there's a lot of guys out there. I'm not saying they're going to be NFL careers, and I'm not saying they're going to be All-Americans at the college level or whatever it might be, but those two qualities in the game of football will take you a long ways. And I think it's actually the same in the coaching world. You got to be tough to be a coach, especially mentally, to deal with some of the other things you deal with. And obviously, you got to be smart and knowing how to handle the different situations. So I had to circle back to that because I thought you saying that earlier, man, was so cool. I thought that was spot on.
Yeah. I have one question for you that goes back to your transition and from position to, different positions. And a lot of times, even now, players or guys that play a certain position or even a certain sport don't want to hear, Coach, I don't want to change positions. What would your advice be to some of those guys who are, the coaches are maybe asking them, or they're even thinking about, hey, I need to do what's best for me to get on the field? What would be your advice to some young players or coaches to even how to navigate, asking those questions and everything like that? What would be some advice that you would give to either players or coaches about position changes and doing what's best for them?
So our head coach here is Chad Kaywood. He actually said this a couple years ago, and like it's the best thing that I've heard, and it's the number one thing that we tell a kid when that talk comes up. And we live by it. We can't say all coaches live by it, obviously, but here at Stillwater, we tell a kid that as our staff as coaches, we are never going to move you positions to play you less. And so, because if you think about it, most of the time you're going to move a player or a kid or something because you need help at a spot. And it's a kid who doesn't already have a spot but has some traits that you think can help you. And so you're moving somebody to help your team, but also to get that person on the field. And so I would tell a kid or something like, hey, they're asking you to do this or to move you to give you more run. And that's the way we do it here. And I think most people, if you can carry through with it, that can change a lot of people's mind. And that's kind of where I was when I made the move. It was like, okay, I'm a tight end who can't split out, can't do anything. I can play 15 to 20 plays a game playing this tight end, or I can go play 70 playing tackle. Well, most people want to play the game. And so I would tell a kid like, hey, a coach is not asking you to move to play you less. If you're a starter at receiver, they're not going to move you. They're not going to ask you to move to DB so you could be the fourth DB. Obviously, they're going to move you to go start, or the fourth corner, or the third cornerback, right? Who's playing in front of two dudes who can go, and you're a backup. Well, they might ask you to go play receiver, and you come start. So I would say, hey, embrace and do it, because I would say most coaches are doing it with the intent of getting you more playing time.
It's a great, man. That was a great question. Great answer. That's not where I thought you were going with that answer, Chuck, to be honest with you. So that's a great answer.
Like when our head coach, because I sat in the meeting, and when he first said that phrase, like it was like a light bulb went off in my head. I was like, that is awesome. And maybe not everybody agrees with it, but like, I'm just like, that is so true. Like, you're not going to move a starting receiver to DB and him be a backup. You're just not doing that, or you're like a tight end who is like me, whose skill is blocking, but you're going to go 4 wide or you want a flex tight end, let's move an offensive line because he's proven he's physical and can whip somebody's tail blocking. Well, let's have him do it all the time. Like that light bulb went off in my head and I was like, I'm carrying that.
That's a great answer because I've been in some of those conversations in some of those rooms a lot of times. And that's the thought process we had as coaches in those rooms is like, hey, we need to move player X because we need help here and he'll get more playing time if he's willing to, make the switch. So that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a great nugget right there, man. I'm taking that for sure.
Yeah,
that's all coaching is anyway, man. You just stealing stuff from other people that you learn along the way and keeping it with you.
Oh, absolutely.
That's all it is. So
absolutely, there's nothing new. Like there are no new schemes or anything. People think they have new schemes. It's been done somewhere at some point.
That's for sure. And it's all coming back full circle. As the game goes big to small to big to small to big to small, back around again, man. We're witnessing.
Look at the NFL. I think that was a record number of tight ends drafted. There was like 20-something tight ends drafted.
Yep.
Thing of beauty, man. It's awesome.
Because everybody wants the two tights. They want to go 12 personnel, 2 tights or whatever. And they want to have one in line and one you can split out. And you can be multiple in your formations without having to sub. So
that's for sure.
I think that's why there's 20-something tight ends that just got drafted.
That's for sure, man. That's great. Yeah. Well, man, I know we're kind of getting to the end here, and so before I forget to ask this, one of my I gotta go with this. When you were in Indy, tell me this: was Omaha a thing, and how many times did you hear it? If so,
yeah, he talked about checking at the line. Was that a thing?
What is crazy? I don't remember Omaha. I don't remember Omaha being a thing. I really don't. But being around Peyton, I think it's more of just like I don't know this, but I do think that it was just more of like an alert of like, okay, I've checked. Okay, I'm ready to go. Omaha set hut. And it's kind of like, okay, everybody stop thinking, get set, like we're getting ready to snap the ball. So
that's awesome.
While I don't think it necessarily meant anything like play-wise or anything, I think it was just an alert of like, okay, I've done checked because, he'll walk up and be like, hey, Sally Raiders, or, Apple, which flips the call, goes opposite or all that stuff. He would do all that and be like, Omaha, set hut. So it's just kind of like okay, I'm done checking. Let's snap the football.
That makes sense. It makes
sense. Like Dak Prescott with it. Here we go.
Probably. Yeah.
I think I do feel like I feel like Omaha now. Like when I thought about this earlier today, I was like, well, I got to ask you about Omaha. Obviously with Peyton, the whole thing. But I do feel like I actually saw it when I think about it more. I think I saw it more when he was in Denver. If maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but
no, that's kind of where
and that's the thing. And so, more so with us, from what I remember in Indy, was more you would hear like black and brown and different colors and numbers after the cadence, or the whole like red 24 or black 48 or black 12 and all that. All that stuff meant was black 12, black 11, black 31, or all that meant was it's on one. Because we didn't huddle, so you weren't in the huddle saying, hey, I write 42 lead on one, we're on the line. So that was his way of telling us when he wanted to snap. So obviously anything ended with the 2 was on 2. Anything above 2 was hard count. So you'd hear 24 or 48 or 67. Well, we knew we weren't snapping the ball because so we were really only going on 1 or 2. So
that's great. Yeah. Wow.
So that was kind of
good stuff right there.
That was our stuff in Indy and not the Omaha kind of thing.
That's cool. That's cool, man.
So
that's really
cool. I got to ask one more question about Peyton Manning. Was he always as serious? And was he ever a prankster? Did he ever, liven it up a little bit, or was he always businesslike and let's go to work?
Oh no, he was he was one of the bigger prank people that I've been around, especially at training camp. Like he was obviously when it was time to work, it was time to work, and he was super serious there. But like at training camp, like our downtime and stuff, like he was the ringleader of pranks and doing things. Like he was the guy that, so in in Indy when we used to camp in Terre Haute at like Rose Holman or whatever. And if you were of certain status, like you got like a golf cart that you could drive around because like the dorms were here and the meeting rooms were here and the fields were like they were all different. So if you were of certain status, you could get so all the coaches got a cart and front office people, and then once you got to a certain age, you would get one too. But he would be the ringleader of finding ways like out in front of Rose Holman, there's like a pond with like a platform in the middle of it. And you would bet every year somebody's golf cart was going to end up on that platform out in the pond. And you never knew who it was going to be, but it was going to come out and it was going to be gone out on that deal somewhere.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so he would be a ringleader of that stuff. He would be the one that would fill the trash can up and lean it against the door and then knock on your door, at training camp. So you and he would do it like right around like bed check time. So you knew you had to answer the door.
Yeah.
And so you open the door and the trash can falls over and all the water goes in your room and that. So he would be the ringleader of stuff like that.
That's like a dad joke, man. That's one of those like that's such an old school
exactly
move.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
That's good stuff, man.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Chuck, man, we appreciate it again. This was a blast, man. Some of those the stories and your perspective, and just pure gold. So we appreciate you coming on here and joining us, man, taking an hour of your time to just to share those nuggets that you had with us and the whole deal, man. So super grateful. Hope you enjoyed it.
No, man, it was fun. This was awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Heck
this
yeah,
was great
man.
time, and like I said, you're always welcome again. Everything like that. So we love it. And if you guys are around Stillwater, you guys watching, go check out some of their games. If they're around here, go check out a Stillwater game and watch how physical that bunch is up front. But for Cooper Paint, Striping and Seal, and the Jeremy Hodge Auto Group, our sponsors, we thank them so much for all the support and everything that we do. And then us at the Huddle Up, for myself, Drew England, and then my co-host, DG. We'll catch you guys again next week, or hey, it may even pop up with another episode. You never know what we're doing. So, guys, thanks again. Like, follow, subscribe, help us grow the channel. Catch us if you don't catch us on the videos. Catch us on Apple and Spotify. We're all over the place. So we appreciate the support, and we'll see you guys again soon.